Noah's Ark is built, right? We don't have to build the ark. It's there, okay? And we're on the ark. But unfortunately, we are seeing so many people get off the ark, and it's raining.
Who brought the snacks?
I did not bring any snacks today.
I have plenty of snacks.
Michael's got the Linger Longer snacks. Yes.
Right.
All right.
Oh, Doritos.
Some Doritos.
Can't go wrong with Doritos.
So we'll go ahead and throw this little thing out here. We're always thinking of, little different ideas and how to spice things up here on the Saints in the South podcast channel. So I thought I would try something a little new with y'all today. So I put a teaser out there in the old text area, field, waves, or whatever, earlier today. I'm going to introduce a little segment. And I gave a teaser that it was going to be RBR. Any guesses on what that stands for?
I thought it was Be Right Back, but I'm dyslexic, so I could be wrong.
Right.
So they have anything to do with Revelation?
Nope. So y'all seen, different reaction videos out there?
Oh, yeah.
So our friend Michael, Mr. Rogue Bishop, he's not on social media very much.
So antisocial.
That's right. So he probably doesn't see all the things that we see as near as much. So I've got a segment here, RBR, Rogue Bishop Reacts. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna throw a video up here. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
And
I'm not sure how to respond to that. I don't even know how to think right now.
Just react. You don't even have to think.
Yeah, just react. We'll see what we got. So we'll let Mr. Rogue Bishop react first, and then we can fill in some gaps and so forth. So everybody hang on here. So I'm going to hit this video. I'm going to pull it up and play. It's going to immediately start playing, or it should. So be it's about a minute long or so. Okay. So y'all ready?
Okay.
Does he have to react while it's playing, or does he wait till it's done and then?
Wait till it's done. Wait till it's done. Okay. All right.
Thanks,
you ready?
Joe.
All right. Here we go.
You're not Mormon, right?
Surprisingly enough, I actually am.
You have a tattoo. I thought Mormons couldn't have tattoos.
I have plenty on my arm and on my leg.
People don't think Mormons can have tattoos. And how do you have tattoos, man? I thought you were supposed to be a good Mormon kid from Utah.
That is quite the question, actually. I get that question very often. For me, my tattoos kind of tell different stories and different parts of my life in a way that I can't always express.
Oh, wow.
For me, my tattoos are a great icebreaker in doing so.
100%, yeah.
I find that in social settings and in a lot of settings, I can very quickly jump into a conversation with people about God because of them.
Because of your tats?
Yeah, they'll be like, hey, what, you got tattoos. This one is about the gospel of Jesus Christ. This one's the tree of life.
Dope.
This one is...
So you can still go to the temple, and you can still take the sacrament, and you can still be a good member even though you have tattoos?
Surprising, right?
Wow. Interesting. What about the one scripture verse that says your body is a temple?
Temples have decorations, don't they?
Oh!
But to me, it's not so much my tattoos that define my worth. It's more like what's in my soul.
Oh my goodness. Wait, hold on. You didn't write that. Who did you steal that from? That's not you. You didn't just say that.
That's the Spirit.
Oh, I love it. The Spirit speaking, in fact.
So what's your reaction?
Just my reaction?
Yeah. What do you think about all that? Tattoos and everything.
Well, it wasn't that long ago where we were specifically told in the handbook that no one could look at except for bishops and stake presidents and their counselors, that tattoos were absolutely forbidden. But there's a lot in the handbook that's changed, and I think it's good. And anytime the brethren or the president of the church, when they all make a change, what does Ella Bednar call that? He doesn't like to use the word change. Adjustment. He likes to use the word adjustment. Whenever adjustments are made, you can feel if it's real because the Holy Ghost will testify to you. And one of the things is that you feel when they announce it, you're like, yeah, that's the way it should have always been. I don't know why it wasn't like that before. So as far as tattoos go, personally, I don't have any problem with them whatsoever. I personally don't have tattoos. Doesn't mean that I like them. It doesn't mean that I don't like them. I have children that have tattoos. And when they were starting to get those, I have to admit that I first was like, what are you doing? Why? You know, my grandfather had a tattoo. He was in the Navy. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think that was, bad or wrong or whatever. So my reaction to our bodies are a temple of God, and that kid's reaction, well, the temples have decorations. I was like, you stud. I was like, that's a pretty good. I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah.
I think it's a personal choice. I think as members of the church, the closer that we get to our Heavenly Father, the more we try to become like Him and to become like Jesus Christ and to become more receptive to the Holy Ghost, our outward appearance will probably change, right? So not too long ago, there was someone at a state conference that gave a talk about how he used to come in jeans and a shirt. And that was fine, and he was accepted, and we would always accept anyone, no matter what they show up in, unless it's revealing, right? But as he became closer, he says as he changed on the inside, then his outward appearance changed. Well, what about those that want to get a tattoo? Well, I have absolutely no problem with it at all. It's like not too long ago, and I don't know if you're going to throw this up there or not, but not too long ago, we were specifically told that women should only have one set of pierced ears, no double piercings, right? And I personally didn't like that because I thought my wife looked freaking hot with double pierced ears.
Right.
And anyway, and I couldn't get her to put them back in. She said, nope, the prophet said just one. I'm like, yeah, but I hate staring at those empty holes. But so anyway, I don't know what you're looking for from me, but my reaction.
No, I'm not looking for anything. Anything.
My reaction to that is that if you want to tat up, tat up. If you don't want to tat up, don't tat up. But don't judge someone based on whether they have tats or not. And if you're tatted, don't judge someone because they don't tat. And if you're not tatted, don't judge someone because they do tat, right? So it all has to do with what's inside and how you are and how you express yourself. And I do know in the business world that it's still asked of people that if they have, sleeves or whatever, right? If you're tatted on your entire arm, isn't that called a sleeve or something?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
That those be covered, right? And if you have gauges, that those be covered. So in the business world, it's still they're still asking people, don't throw it out there like that. But yeah, I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah. I think we're moving away from letter of the law more toward the spirit of the law kind of thing gradually.
Yeah, and I think we're moving more like how do you well like the kid said, right? How does he express himself? What's the sign that he's giving to God?
Mm-hmm.
My sign may be, I'm bow my head and close my eyes during the sacrament, right? Maybe that's just me. And maybe his sign to God is I'm going to put something on there that's going to cause, like he had the tree of life, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's going to cause a discussion. Well, good on him. Good on him.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty.
But I like that even with in the Strength of You pamphlet, they've moved completely away from do's and don'ts. It's now, how do you, how can you show, what is your sign to God that you're doing this? How can you show, your belief or whatever? And I think I know there's a lot of hardcore members that are like, man,
especially old school.
Yeah. But I was like, well, good. It should have never been do's or don'ts. So.
Yeah. Very good.
The only thing I
away
didn't
from the law
like,
of Moses.
yeah, the only thing I really didn't like about that was the way the dude said sacrament. I can't even get in my head how he enunciated that sacrament or something like that. That was the worst part about the whole thing.
Wasn't it kind of questioning? Like, can you
Yeah,
take
it was
sacrament?
like a quadruple twisted
Right.
syllable or something. But
Well,
I
there you
think
go. Yep,
the only
go
argument
ahead.
I
Anyway,
think on the
I'll try not to take so long. Do you have another one for me?
No, that's it. Just one per episode. What you got, Joe?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think the only argument on the tattoo thing for me is its permanence. If you make a
Right.
decision when you're 16, you say like, this is, I really like the idea of having CTR tattooed on my arm, and then down the road, as you change, as you grow closer to the Lord, you may look back on that with some regret because of the permanence of it. Whereas if it's, growing your hair out, or wearing wild clothes, or a rat tail or a mullet or something like that, then I mean that's relatively easily remedied, whereas something like a tattoo could be more permanent. Although I mean, like you mentioned military people, that I mean that's a tough one, because I could really see, if you develop in that close bond with a small group of people, that you may have some tie-in with that, an anchor on the arm or something like that, or that's a tough one. I mean, I think, and I mean, ultimately for anybody, that's your choice. So I'm too cheap for it, honestly. I'll tell you the truth. I am too cheap for that, because I hear like people spending serious money on these things. I'm like, what?
Yeah, decent
couldn't do
tattoo
it.
artists are not cheap.
No, I couldn't do
And
it.
you don't want to get a cheap tattoo artist.
Yeah, you get what you pay for, right?
That's right.
All
Exactly.
right. That's
If
right.
you're gonna have something permanent on your body, you don't want to go for the bargain basement. Man, I'll do it for $20.
That's right.
Yeah, let me have one of them.
So your body's not a temple. It's looking more like a Waffle House now.
So I've mentioned before on here that the only tattoo that I would ever consider getting would be one for the Kabuki syndrome for my daughter.
Mhm.
And so when I see videos like that, it resurfaces those feelings and thoughts of, man, at 46 years old, I'm not 18 and out, living a crazy life and making crazy memories, right? I'm 46 years old, children and everything. And I got something here that it really is a personal thing for me and my family and my children, so,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's, if I ever get one, that's gonna be the one. So it remains to be
Get you
seen.
those henna tattoos or whatever.
Oh, that you
Yeah.
can wipe off.
Yeah, well, I think they take
It's
a while.
about 3 or 4 weeks or something. It
Oh,
stays on.
okay.
But
Well,
anyway.
it depends on how often you bathe. So yours might
Right.
last a couple of months.
That's right.
I done had my bath this year.
That's right. It's been a good year.
I bathe every month, whether I need it or not.
That reminds me, when I was a kid, my dad used to put me in tires and roll me down hills. Those were good years.
Dude, we put ourselves in tires and roll down the hills.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Well, all righty. Well, there you go. There's your first ever Rogue Bishop Reacts. So
Nice.
hope you
That was
enjoyed
fun.
it. So what you got,
Continue.
Joe? You got something for us?
Yeah, man. We were talking about importance of temples there. Was that 2 Nephi 12:2-3?
Yes.
Right. And then there was also in 2 Nephi 14:5. Who has that verse? I'm on. Wait, I might have it. Just kidding. For to 2 Nephi 14:5, and the Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion, and upon her assemblies, a cloud and smoke by day, and the shining of a flaming fire by night. For upon all the glory of Zion shall be a defense. And there shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime from the heat, and for a place of refuge, and a covert from storm and from rain. This is an interesting thing, because he kind of describes 3 different places to kind of have this spirit of the Lord upon it, right? Upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion. We're talking about and this is of course Isaiah, so you take it how you want it. But every home, we learn in the church, the sacredness and the holiness of the home is very, very important, as well as upon her assemblies. So the church activities and those things, any place two members are gathered, a Zion, so to speak. And then also upon this tabernacle, which would have been essentially their temple, their mobile temple. It reminds me of D&C 87:8. I think I have that too. I'm going to be bouncing around a good bit here. 87:8. Wherefore stand ye in holy places, and be not moved, until the day of the Lord come. For behold, it cometh quickly, saith the Lord. Amen. And these holy places, I think, are the three places, if we're focusing on standing in holy places: it's home, assemblies, and temple. All right. And then to my bigger point, this is a throwback, because that verse 87:8 of D&C is essentially a discussion of the end of times, right? The second coming, Revelation type stuff. So in Revelation chapter 6, verses 15 through 17, we're talking about, and this wasn't too long ago, we actually talked about it, but I wrote it down because I think I was kind of off the cuff a bit there, about all the people hiding in the second coming, right? Hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us. And then in verse 17, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? In Revelation 7, 2 through 4, talking about the angels that are coming and going to just kind of mess things up. In verse 3, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. All right, Revelation 14:1. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Sion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. All right. So
what does that mean?
Which part?
Having
The 144,000?
in names written in their foreheads.
Yeah, names written in their foreheads. So clearly we don't have something written on our forehead. Well, I don't usually. But it's I think it's kind of like a branding thing, right? You in those same verses we talk about the devil having his mark upon people as well, their foreheads and their hand. But essentially being able to recognize someone for whose team do they play for, who are they as a person. I think in the recent verses in the Book of Mormon, we were just talking about the countenance of people, a light countenance or dark countenance, not necessarily being the color of their skin, but kind of what they're projecting. You kind of get a feel for who they represent, right? And I think that's what we're talking about a bit here.
Let me lay a question on you real quick.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a possibility that that's where the tradition of the phylacteries came from?
Yeah, I think so, because in those other verses we talk a little bit about that.
I tried phylacteries once. They really hurt.
My doctor did that to me when I was 40, and so. But yes, I think that's part of it. And what did they write on the thing it was holiness to the Lord or something like that, which is very similar to.
And there were scriptures. I think sometimes they would just have like little pieces of paper, little scrolls with scriptures written on them in like the
correct.
Little
Later
box,
on, that's essentially what it became. But in these verses of Revelation, it was essentially a phrase, and I think it was holiness to the Lord or something along those lines. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Let's see. I think I have that here, actually. Yep. Actually, Exodus 28, 36 through 38, when you're talking about the thing written on the forehead with specifically, this was instructions given to Moses at the time. And thou shalt make a plate of pure gold, engrave upon it, like the engravings of a signet, holiness to the Lord. And thou shalt put it on a blue lace, that it may be upon the mitre, upon the forefront of the mitre it shall be. And it should be upon Aaron's forehead, that Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things which the children of Israel shall hallow in their holy gifts, and it shall be always upon his forehead, that they may be accepted before the Lord. All right. So back up a little bit, where this all ties into us and what it ties into 2 Nephi. DNC 10926. This is the Kirtland Temple, first temple in our dispensation. It's being reestablished as part of the Christ Church being reestablished on the earth. And here is verse 26, chapter DNC 10926. This is part of the dedicatory prayer, that no combination of wickedness shall have power to rise up and prevail over thy people, upon whom thy name shall be put in this house. That's what temples are for. And that's part of that becoming one of the 144,000. It's not a specific literal number, but it's being numbered upon those who are with Christ in the second coming at a feast rather than hiding in a rock. It's those who are able to stand. That answers that question. Who's able to stand? And that goes back to the DNC 87:8, stand ye in holy places, right? Also goes to Ephesians 6 with the armor of God. Multiple times we focus on the different pieces of the armor of God, but multiple times what we're being called to do is stand. And then at the end, withstand. And how you do that is you go to the Lord's house.
That's beautiful, man. You should have told me to get my scriptures out and a marker and everything. I'd have been doing some cross referencing here and my scripture chain. I'm going to have to go back and watch this and get my scripture chain down.
There you go.
I like
Some
that.
Deep Thoughts there by Jack Handy.
That's right.
So to stand and then withstand.
That's right.
I like that. I like that a lot.
You know, but what popped in my head, Joe, when you were talking about standing in holy places, you know, because it talked about who's going to be able to stand. We're going to be, you know, we want to be able to stand, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes to the point where I think the Lord, this is just my opinion, I think the Lord wants us to be such that wherever we stand, wherever that is, it's a holy place.
Holy place.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's part of the assemblies. I wouldn't equate 100% or 1-to-1 that assemblies is the church, like a church building necessarily. It's where saints are gathered. And I think that's even, and we have examples of this in the scriptures, even a single person, a follower of Christ can be enough to stand.
Yes.
I think you're right.
And this actually helps me. I'm glad you went through this, because it brings back up a continuing thought that I've had and that I actually had with somebody today at an inspection. We ended up getting into a state of the world conversation, but my comment to him was, the boat is built. Noah's Ark is built, right? We don't have to build the ark. It's there. Okay. And we're on the ark. But unfortunately, we are seeing so many people get off the ark and it's raining.
Yeah.
Stay on it. Stay on the boat. Okay. At all costs, you got all these negative influencers going on, state of the world, principles, church history, throwing all this stuff at you. You've been able to stand for so long. Now you've got to withstand. That's right. Everything that's coming at you. Don't get off the boat. Don't get off the ark. Stay on it. Okay. It is raining.
Well, look at verse in Revelation 7:13 through 15. And one of the elders answered, this is where they're talking about kind of the visions and things like that. One of the elders answered, saying unto me, what are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, these are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore are they before the throne of God, and serve him day and night in his temple. And he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. It's not someone who made it through unscathed, perfect. It's those who came through great tribulation. You know, you had to stand and withstand, and you went through a lot, but you chose to have your robes washed and made clean in the blood of the Lamb. That's the decision that it's not just once, it's time and again, day after day, that you make that decision.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's good.
Good thoughts there, Jackson.
Yeah. And the thing that that I keep thinking about when going through tribulation is I'm going to say something and then I'm going to come back to it. So first I'm going to say this. It's going to sound rogue. I don't think being a god is all it's cracked up to be. I'm not sure that I would want to be the guy that loses a third of my kids. I just can't imagine the pain that God would feel. I don't think that being a God, you're going to never have pain and never have sorrow. I don't think that that's going to happen. You're going to have deep pain and deep sorrow for the loss of kids. And I'm not sure. I know I'm not ready to go through that now, but I kind of understand why we have to go through the things that we go through. You know, I got some kids right now, my own, that I never thought would happen, where, you know, they're to the point that they just refuse to believe there even is a God and that there is a Christ. And I think some of it is because if you don't, you know, it's easier to do what you want to do and ease your conscience if there's no God, because if there's no God, there's no sin. Oh my gosh. And how many scriptures are there that talk about that? Right.
Right.
But, I hate it. I hate going through it because of how painful it is. And I can only imagine the pain that father and mother feel, and still feel, and for that loss. And every experience we go through, every tribulation we go through, every heartache, and it's just to prepare. It's just, I think, to prepare us to be gods, to have a full 100% understanding, to be to the point where you loathe sin and you can't even look on it anymore, and you just relish in goodness and righteousness. It's all part of becoming celestial, becoming exalted, becoming like Christ, becoming like God. And so even though I said in the beginning, I don't think that, you know, being a God is all it's cracked up to be, is what I mean by that is that it's not going to be a life of never ending happiness. There's going to be a bunch of sadness in there. And all these experiences we're going through is because when we make it through that, you know, we make it through those tribulation, the prize for that is all that Father has, all of it. And I just can't think of anything sweeter and better. You know, as low as his lows are, his highs have to be just like unfathomable, you know. But it makes me realize just how desperate Satan and his followers are, you know, because they want bodies so bad. I mean, and if they can't have bodies, by golly, then nobody's going to have bodies. And we're going to take everything that Father has created and we're going to pollute it, and we're going to pollute those senses that they have in their minds and their connectors and those, help me guys, everybody that's smart, those, what do you call those, neurosynapses? Is that what you call them? Come on, guys.
The new Apple Vision. I saw that.
I'm the
Yeah.
knuckle dragger here, so I don't know. It's a
Yeah,
neural
you're right.
Anyway,
Synapses.
whatever they're called. Anyway, he pollutes all that, and then, you know, so addictions happen, and he pollutes everything that's good and right because he so desperately wants a body and can't have it, and so he's going to make it miserable for the rest of us. And so it's no wonder we have all these things that we deal with that are contrary to God's plan, because we have someone that is just fixated on making us just as miserable as he is, because the reality is he's just miserable.
Misery loves company.
He's a jerk.
True.
Put it nicely.
So how what's your advice on handling wayward children?
I don't. I
Well,
don't have any.
not handling them, handling the inner emotions and feelings that you have and the sadness that you have, and also at the same time to be able to find joy and happiness in your own life. Because again, the older my children get, the more concerned I get with that, because I see it everywhere. I see it with my own parents, with my own grandparents, with my own friends, such as yourself, uh, Kenny. You've got children that have chosen to go a different route. How do you handle that? I don't know. I'm scared. I'm scared of that, honestly.
It's something to be scared of. I personally feel, but and Kenny's probably got his own thoughts on it. But I look for the pieces of joy. That's what I cling to, so that I can have happiness no matter what, and be, because Heavenly Father is going to be, if his child is happy living a telestial law, and so their glory is going to be telestial. He's going to be happy for that child in the telestial sphere that they've chosen. He's going to have joy for them in that sphere for them. He's not going to be like, oh, if you could have just done better and come, just a little bit more and you had made it to the terrestrial world. He's going to be happy for them wherever they're going to be happy, right? So I find the joy that where my kids are at right now. But I tell you one thing is I try really hard not to be preachy and not to, cram or drive the gospel down their throats, but I still don't back down on my own testimony. So like they'll say, well, what do you guys have planned, or what did you do this weekend? Well, we had state conference. And I'll say, and I have to tell you, it was probably one of the best state conferences I've ever been to. And I'll tell them some things that have happened, or a youth dance, or this happened, or whatever. And one of my kids will be like, well, Dad, I know you still believe in God and everything. And I respect that. And da, 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 da. And I'll say, yeah. And, here's the experience that I had that reinforces that. Right. So I guess the best thing I can say is here's a story that was told to me by an apostle, and he was quoting a prophet there, and this was 30, 40 years ago, that some members of the church said, well, if our daughter ever decides to marry outside of the church, we're going to disown her. We're not going to have anything to do with her if she messes up, or gets pregnant or whatever, that, and that's what they taught in the family. And lo and behold, I don't know if it was self-prophecy or whatever, their daughter did end up getting in trouble, got pregnant outside of marriage, and married the guy, and the guy wasn't a member of the church. And so they went to the prophet, who was a bishop at the time, and said, this is this and this has happened. What should we do? I mean, she's obviously done all these things wrong, and like how could we accept her into our home, and da 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 da. Anyway, the prophet said that he looked at those parents straight in the eye, and he said, well, I think the first thing I would suggest is that you get off your butts and you go buy a baby bed for that baby. Love them. How stupid can you be to disown them for a mistake that they've made? Is that what Heavenly Father does to us? He doesn't disown us for the mistakes that we make. He stands there with his arms still open, helping us, yearning for us to come back, right? To try again, to not give up, and to not stay fallen down, but to rise up. And so with your kids, you have to look for those things, like when our kids come over and we have a family meal together, they know that we're going to bless that food. Now, they may not close their eyes and they may not fold their arms, but they respect us enough and they respect our beliefs enough that they're at least quiet while we bless the food. And so you take those moments like that and you take the joys that you have, and you're still a family, and you do fun things together, and you find things to talk about. And when the Spirit directs you, you bring the gospel back in a way that, that they're like, And it was interesting because I was having a discussion with one of my kids just yesterday, who's going through some real trials right now. And I said to them, well, you could probably find peace in coming back to church. And they said, well, Dad, it's interesting you said that, because I've actually been thinking about it. Now, what if I wouldn't have said anything, right? What if I wouldn't have said anything at all? I'm not trying to cram the gospel down their throat, but I took an opportunity as the Spirit directed to bring it up again, thinking that, well, I'm gonna feel the backlash on this. Why you always got to bring up church? Blah, blah, blah. Thinking that probably might happen, so I was prepared, but the exact opposite happened.
Robert C. Oakes gave a talk years ago, and I always remember it. He was specifically talking about missionary work, but in essence, that's what this is too. And he related it to sometimes we feel like that. We don't want to be too pushy, and we don't want to catch backlash and stuff, or feel like we're cramming things down their throat. But he said, it's like having a breakfast, and you've got this wonderful fresh squeezed orange juice, and you pour yourself a big old glass, and you're just enjoying it. This is so good and all that. And you look at your guests at the meal, and you don't offer them any of this orange juice because you're afraid they might not like it. And he's like, it seems crazy. He goes, and it is. He goes, if it brings you joy in your life, you should want to share it with them. And if they don't, I'm orange juice intolerant, or whatever. Hey, I mean, who would know that? So it's okay. Yeah. And if it's something that brings you joy, they should understand that too, that you're trying to share something with them that brings you joy, because you want them to also have that same joy. So I think sometimes if we, like you did, if we do it in the right spirit, and especially as moved upon by the Spirit, then good comes from it, even if we don't see the good from it right now. It builds on time, and the Spirit works on them. God works on them, and we don't have to take that weight on our own shoulders. You think about Lehi and his fractured family, and he never gave up on them the whole way through. He even had a vision that he saw that they didn't, Laman and Lemuel didn't taste the fruit, and he still didn't give up on them. He still loved them. He still encouraged them to do what was right. He reprimanded them when they were doing wrong, and he kept going. He kept being the dad. And I think that's the call. That's the call that we have as fathers.
Very good. Very good. Well, I think we'll bring that one to a close.
All right.
Sounds good.
Fair enough.
All righty. Until next time, y'all keep on striving. What you got, Joe? Yep.
I reckon so.